All of these things are very, very encouraging. So too are unusual political and legal challenges that are occurring, such as the Our Children's Trust case, where 21 children, with the help of, again, climate scientist James Hansen, and a stellar legal team, are challenging the US federal government, the Trump administration, for inaction on climate change, using the public trust doctrine, a time-honored doctrine that you cannot use up resources that future generations will depend upon for their well-being, for their health, and for their livelihood. And by ignoring what science now tells us very, very clearly is the case with the global climate system, with the atmosphere, with global warming, the US government, so the plaintiffs in this case contend, are compromising the ability of future generations to live healthy and happy and prosperous lives. And the most wonderful thing about it is you have a leading scientist on one hand joining hands with 21 youth, the youngest one when the case was first filed around 7 or 8 years old. And the oldest one's now just sort of getting into college. And many of them high school and junior high school age. And these children are standing up to the most powerful organization in the world and challenging it in court and saying, okay, we will use the law, we will use the legal avenues available to us and novel arguments that have a strong basis in jurisprudence and in the history of jurisprudence to test the legality of what this administration is doing, or rather what it's not doing. So this is one example in which you can use established channels, legal channels, together with alliances being created between grassroots groups, between scientific and academic groups, between non-governmental institutions and environmental non-governmental institutions, groups like Greenpeace, groups like the National Resources Defense Council, and a whole host of others, banding together and saying, okay, we've got some seriously rich invested interests who are doing their best to make sure they stay rich. And they're doing that without caring how it's actually going to affect everybody else in the world, not just those living today, but especially those not even born yet. And this, I think, is a sign of hope. And you have more and more people joining into those ranks who have big loudspeakers themselves, who have a media presence who can reach a lot of people, and who are standing up and making the ethical decision and saying, we're going to fight back against this. We're not just going to roll over. And we're no longer going to tolerate what we see going on in terms of attacks on our democracy, attacks on our children, and attacks on the earth.